Okay. So I think we had done till advanced reports, but there were few topics we were left with on the hands-on part where we wanted to see certain kind of cal fields, right? So I'll just go back to the cal field, like to the report we were working on.
Again, I have a small doubt. I tried generating a custom report, applied a data source as or CM reporting
For
for.
reporting, okay.
Yeah, and it took automatically the data source filter as all workers.
All workers, right?
Yeah, and I have inserted some of the fields and pulled the report.
Okay.
But when I would like to change some of the fields after running, will it trigger or we need to add from the modifying from the data source itself?
No, like if the field, say you have added a certain field, say employee ID, and you want to add another field which is available on the same data source, then you will be able to add. Definitely.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will have to maybe create some cal field or something. But if it is not possible and it altogether depends or comes from a different data source, then only you have to change your data source. So, like, if you can tell me in particular what kind of field you had added and you wanted to add, maybe we can try to replicate.
In the filters, actually, I applied eligible for rehire.
Okay.
As the field name. Actually, in the previous data source, it took actually. And after running, I changed the data source. So again, it is not picking the data.
Okay. Maybe that field is not. So you were able to save the definition. You're saying like the field is there on the report definition, but it is not coming up. Okay.
Yes,
Maybe that's why, since you had already added, like what you have done, right? You have added all the fields relevant to the previous data source, right? And then you have changed the data source, and then that relevancy or that linkage breaks. So whenever you have to change the data source, I would say like you change in the initial steps, not on the later stages, because this kind of issue will happen, that these particular fields might be dependent on that particular set of data source or data elements. And then when you change the data source, the linkages break and it will not like get you the correct output.
So again, we have to insert new fields, right? From the first on.
Right. Like
otherwise
whatever is
data.
Right. Whatever is not getting you data, I would suggest like you enter a new field. So in the like prompts, you will be able to see only the relevant fields for that data source. And
it seems all the same data is available in the other data source also, but it is not putting out the data.
Right. Because you have like kind of break the linkage, right? The data source has been changed and the previous data source fields or elements were selected. Because I know business object is something would remain the same. That's why it is not erroring out, but the data source or the view of the table has changed, right? So that view might not have a linkage to that previous one.
So we had to again select the first name, last name, again everything.
Right. And then it will work.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much.
And that's why, like, I would say, whenever you want to just be, like, want to be sure of the data source, I would say, like, initially, whenever you have not added certain field, go to the data source, look at the fields available to you, maybe do some testing before creating altogether the filters or prompts. Just try to add those fields, whatever you think are the most critical fields for your report, and see, like, okay, run it for everything without any prompts or filters. It won't take much time. And then when that's done, like you are assured that the data is coming fine, then go ahead and set up any kind of filtering, sub-filtering, prompting. Okay.
Actually, this is a request from one of the customer actually. But after running the report, everything is fine. But again, they added some more fields to be, again, additional requirement they asked for.
Okay. And then that requirements made you change the data source.
Yeah. At that time, I would like to change the data source, but again, this total report is not coming again.
No, not coming. Yeah, it won't come. So I believe the same fields would be available because the primary business object will remain same, but you just have to enter the fields again, like select the fields again.
Okay. Yeah, it may be from the fields which they are requiring is from different data sources.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. So from again, I already scheduled the report, everything I given to them. But the thing is, at the time when I about to submit the report, it is not pulling out.
Yeah. I think it won't take much time of yours. Just on the same fields, even the headers would remain the same. Like if you have selected this, go on and select first name again, and then
Yeah.
use the same reference. It will work. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that's the thing happens when you have access to tenants. You try different things, and you will come up with different kind of issues or shortcomings. Yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience. I think the team is working, but I hope this gets sorted as soon as possible. Okay, so what do you have to do? We wanted to create different kinds of cal fields, right? Okay.
Hello.
Yeah,
I
please.
have a question. So, if we don't require a calculated field already created by somebody, we want to delete it, can we delete it, or what is?
Yes, it can be deleted, but the only thing I would just cancel this question or this action which I did right now. Okay, so you say this cal field is already deleted, right? Like already created.
Yeah.
Okay, and you want to delete this cal field. First, I would say, why do you want to delete this cal field? Is it like you do not require it or have been created wrongly? Okay, then first thing you will go and see is where used. Okay, if you see it's being used only in your report reference, that is like you are creating or you are doing, and it does not purse any of the integration objects other than your things, like whatever particular object you're working on, and it's not being referenced with another, say it's being referenced by another reports. So then you cannot, and then you should not delete it because it will say that it is being used in somewhere. I think even second report can field view. I believe I'll have to proxy 1 second. Otherwise it will give you this thing. There is an option to delete. Okay. Not having to get access to the report first. This is not coming. Or
this is report, right?
Yeah, this is the report, but I just wanted to see what are the options available, because for me it is not coming. Otherwise it will come up like edit and delete here.
Okay.
Yeah, from here it would come up edit or delete definition. It is stop proxy. Okay, so the thing I told you, like if it is not being used, what you can do it from here, you will get this option calculated field, edit, copy, and then there would be a delete option as well. From there you can delete this calculated field. Okay, but the key thing is that it should not be used by any other integration objects or custom reports, so that say you are deleting and something stops working for the other person, because they will go ahead and see maybe what changes have been done. There's a thing called audit reporting for each of the objects. I think since this is a training, then we might not have those things, but as a developer, okay, you see view audit trial, and then from date to I'll say from the starting of this month till it will show you whatever changes I've done or who has done this. So you see the first transaction done on this report was on 703, and we created the definition that we gave the ID, we gave the field name, we gave the ad hoc alias, and by user, you see, it will give you your name. So these are certain things you can do within Workday. Say one of your cal fields have been changed by someone who might be a developer as well and has access to it, or got access to your custom report or field, and you're saying why it's not working. I was working on it and now it stopped working. So you can go ahead, be it a report, be it a field. If you have access to the audit trails, you can go ahead and see the audit trails and see whatever changes that have been done for this report.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And another question, so can we get the list of calculated fields are present in the tenant? What are the calculated fields?
I think from view calculated field, you can select, but yeah, it will give you like all the relevant objects, but it will be a very large list, but you can select and try to use it. Otherwise, what people do in terms of creating or implementing systems is like they create a repository or a report to just for everyone to be available on a shared drive or something, and then you will create a cal field in this Workday tenant, and maybe that's how we maintain or proceed with the implementation projects. Is like we maintain it in an Excel shared with everyone, all the implementers who are working on it, and we mention the name and the reference IDs and what it is doing for our things. Otherwise, you'll have to do it like this. Like
there is a function like all calculated fields, right?
Yeah.
It's a task.
If it is available, that's what. Like at times it is. I'm not seeing all calculated fields. If it is available, yeah, view all calculations and okay. Yeah. So it again now you have to give the business object, or otherwise if you include report specific calculated fields if you want to. Yeah, I think I forgot about this function or this task. Thanks. Otherwise, that's the thing also we do, because as we are working on different tenants, you can get calculated field only from this tenant. But if there are different tenants getting worked, so that you can create or replicate the same. But that's the thing with this report. Say this is still a training tenant, it will have a reduced number of fields or objects coming up. But if it is a real world tenant, it will have like, it is still 18,000. It will go like 50, 60, 70,000 calculated fields.
Okay. Why I'm asking is because like if we already have a calculated field, we can reuse it, right? Again, no need of creating one. That's the reason I'm just asking whether we have anything.
That's the thing. That's why, like, I think maintaining it in a separate table where people like you are working is a best practice we follow in projects, because and from this also maybe someone else has given a different name, right? You might not be able to just clearly go into each of these fields and clearly see what it is doing or not. Otherwise, the option is to like export it to Excel. And yeah, if you want to really dig in and do everything which is available, say if it is a post go live tenant and you want to see, then yes, this
Okay, got it.
Then
Thank
you open, you can download and open this in tenant.
I think there is one more function like maintain calculated fields, right?
That's for deleting. No, maintain would be for deleting, or like if you want to see the calculated fields, say maintain cal fields. I'm not sure if it is available. Yeah. Calculated date is, sorry, clicked on the wrong one. Like anything, if you see in general, I would say in the tenant, if there is a view, then only you can do the view task. And if it is maintained, then it will depend. Like if you have the access to edit or add, remove that values or things, then you will see a maintain task as well. So maintain is anything like you want to maintain in the tenant, then you will see a maintain task. And okay.
So are you saying if it is a maintain, if we can see that task, it will allow us to do edits on that calculated field?
Right, it will do. You see, it is directly giving you this option to edit this field, and it will take you to the edit field. And from view, what it will do is like just give you all the details. And from then you can add also, like if it is, you want to add tenant calculated field, you can do this.
I think I don't have that edit option, even though I can see the maintain calculated field.
Yeah,
but
maybe
for me,
because this is a custom or a standard fee or report. Okay, this is standard report delivered by Workday. So you have access to all the standard reports. You see, it's a report. But when you go ahead and into this report, since you do not have that edit access globally, you will not be able to see.
What means globally means, is there any security on that?
Like it depends upon the kind of security setup in from your tenant to tenant. Like you see, I was not able to view delete option from the field, as well as like there would be action or a button here for deleting the instance or so. So that's why. So for this tenant, my access is not allowing me to delete anything or delete any calculated fields or objects.
So how can we see that who all can maintain this edit, delete of calculate
say go check with your security admin. Tell them that I want to do this operation. They would be the right person because there can be custom domains that is restricting your access to do certain operations, and they have created certain domain policies, right? So if those domain policies are not aligned to your user account, you won't be able to do that. So if you have access and if they confirm you are the right person to get this access, they will enable that security to you.
So we can't see it right now, like
I don't I think that would be another something getting deviated from this.
Okay.
I think we are deviating too much.
Yes. That's what. Okay. So I would say create cal field. And then we wanted to create, say, I have all these birthdays coming up, right, on the custom report for the employees. I want this report as data source to send notifications or send a notification to the managers for people or employees whose birthdays are upcoming. So I want something like a manager's email address on this report. Okay, CR. And if I'll go ahead and show you on the report, it will have that manager field, but the manager's email is not directly available on the worker object. So, and lookup, or the best part for lookup related values is for, we call them LRVs. LRVs lookup related value. We'll just type in LRV, it will come up automatically, the function. Okay, lookup field would be manager. Okay. Managers, additional managers, position, manager level 1, you're just like the immediate manager for workers position. This is the manager, worker, supervisory organization. So you'll go ahead and select the manager level 1, see if we are getting the email primary home or email primary work. So I wanted the primary work email for this person so that we can set up something kind of notification that goes to the managers based on this report that if the birthday is in a certain date range, it will trigger or do certain actions within Workday. Okay. So this is just a data source. That related actions would be later on. So we do this, we copy and we use this CR managers. Okay. And if I'll show you why we did this is like, if you see, manager would be there, or like the email addresses would be there, but that would be relevant to this worker. You won't be able to drill down to the level of their manager and get their email address directly from a field. That's why we go ahead and created a calculated field to look up into a related business object. Like it will look up into the manager. From there, it will again go to the worker profile of that manager and get that email address for you. So
in this case, like if you want to pull that manager email there in the report, so you need to link another business object. What is the business object?
No, so the worker is the primary business object, but the lookup field. So the lookup field, you want to look up at the level of the manager. Like the business object, as again I told you, right? It would be worker, because what will happen is worker is also saved as a worker. Manager is also saved as a worker in Workday, right? But it is not directly related to you.
Right.
It will go as the manager and then go to that related business object of the worker and get the field.
Okay, so worker to
manager
level 1, and it returns the manager's primary email. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And I think
this kind of items is going to be tricky, unless you work on
exactly, unless you have hands-on, right? And that's why, like, I think I know the curiosity to get the tenant, and I would have been doing the same if I were at your place, because until you go and explore certain things, like, okay, I want to get this situation, I want to get this data, how would I do? Is it available directly? It is not available. So these things, yeah, definitely. This is something tricky, and I would say really getting into the integration domain, really doing the work, because simple requirements are something people can do.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I came to the edit.
I have a question. So how can we identify it is a single instance or multiple instance? Like, is there any symbol? I can see there is a symbol.
That's what I think. I think you were not there on the initial class, right?
Oh, okay.
That's why I showed people. I would say if I again just taking a couple of minutes maybe. just to clear certain doubts, I show you, sorry, this is worker. So this symbol, if you see a Venn diagram kind of symbol, I will zoom in, try to zoom in 1 second. Okay. And since I'm using the same worker in the worker business object, it will come as a self-referencing kind of, okay. This is worker, self-referencing. Another example, I will show you address. You see multi-instance, like one dot, there is one bigger dot and then 3 rays coming out of it. So it says multi-instance. If there is only one, you see like candidate address. The candidate can be only one for a particular, like candidate profile, only one for a worker. And then this will come as a single instance. So this is single instance, this is text. Anything with a number would come as a hash, you see, hash. Anything with a date would come up for the calendar symbol, I think, is calendar, okay. Or otherwise also, if you want to just see or check what it is doing, it will give you the field type times. If it is available, it will give you the field type, like a field type is this, field type is date.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, I will go back to original case. Yeah, what I've deleted is just to get more workers because we had selected only 5 to 6 workers coming out of the report. I've removed that so that we get more values or data for you to see. I will give this 0101 date and then okay. You see 535 items out of it, and now you see at workday.net whatever is saved in this. And one of the key things I would say, again, just to validate or during your unit test, I would say encourage you guys to is go to the worker profiles, check if it is really getting me the right data or not. So you need to be very sure. Once you have access, I will say, even before doing any of the integration stuff, like creating a custom field or a report, I would want you to explore the worker profile of a person. Typically take Logan McLean because this is like the top level of person setup in Workday. They would have data correctly set up for this one. So you can go ahead and see personal data. Okay, how can we see personal data? I will go to personal. Okay, I will go to personal information. Do you see it is coming up for me? Do you see any IDs? No, okay. It is not coming. Okay, so what you can do is like it will have a brief summary from this summary page or this left drop down section. So you will just have a summary. But if you go to related actions and go to the relevant tab for personal information, personal data, you will be able to see a lot of options like contact information, emergency contact. From my experience, I can say like, okay, email ID would be something, email ID, address, phone number would be something sitting under a contact information. So that's why I will say this is handy. Like go in, see which data is sitting in where, so that you can able to identify, okay, if I want to go ahead and check it, how can I do it? Okay. So LinkedIn profile and everything is there. So this particular email address is worker primary. And since we used to, or we picked this the same worker primary in our, I think, here worker primary, is it different? User Workday email address, this is a public, okay.
I mean, that's
the manager's email, right?
Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's like you got me. See, when things, yeah, you will go to the manager from here, summary. On the summary page, you will see the manager. Okay, Joe Banks is the CHRO, and then again from here you can go in and I think go to personal data section, view contact information. Okay, so I forgot that we are looking up on the manager's email, and then that's why. So now you see Joe Banks, and what was the value? Joe Banks it is. So you can like verify a couple of instances or data that is coming up before, I would say, going ahead and developing more, say, SSLT over it or integration over it. First, you verify the data with certain test cases for yourself, kind of do a unit testing on the report data source, and then go ahead. Okay, any more questions on LRV? I would again go up and show you the LRV kind of screen so that you will be able to get yourself familiarized with the different kind of options available, and this is how to do this. So any LRV would have a lookup related field, like lookup field, like the field you want to look up into. Say you want to look up into the details of an organization which is directly not available on the organization business object. Say there is an organization business object, but there are integration IDs that is sitting in a different kind of. So what you'll do is like go into the organization field, see the relevant business object will get populated directly, and then return a value which is corresponding to your requirement. Okay, and one of the key things I would say for you guys to notice, this is an lookup related value on LRV. This is limited or has a limitation that it can be looked only on single instance fields. You see, manager level 1 is a single instance field. If I'll go ahead and give you manager, so there is show you the field itself on the report. Okay, so if I'll go ahead and give you the manager for a work, it will come up with, so position level 1, 2, those will be single instance, but there is a field called as this tenant also should have that field, managers position, managers default, my managers, past managers, all worker managers. Okay, something like all workers manager. Say you want to create a LRV on this, you won't be able to, because if you go ahead and put this field, it will not pop up because this is a multi-instance field. If you can see this field, it is a multi-instance field. So the only way possible is to like go to a particular instance and then get an LRV out of it. And that is one of the key questions I would say going for interviews would be, I want to create a lookup related value calculated field for one of those objects, and what do I have to look for the limitations of an LRV. So you'll see we can create LRV only on single instance fields. So if you want to do it really, if the requirement is there is a particular field that is available, data that is available only on multi-instances, first you will have to get the single instance out of it. I will show you how to get the single instance after this. So how to get the single instance out of it and then report or create the LRV based upon this same single instance.
So when you say instance, it's one-on-one relationship or one-to-many relationship?
Instances like you have addresses. Again, I'll go back to the basic example. You have addresses, you have primary address, you have work address, you have permanent address. Okay. So all these are instances of address. Okay. And if you want to get the single instance, you want to get your work address, then it will give you the work address. If you are going ahead and selecting that the work address to be picked up, then that becomes a single instance out of these addresses.
Okay. And you have only one manager for an employee, so that becomes single instance. Naturally.
No, there can be like multiple managers. Like on the managers category, they would usually have all the hierarchy. But if you talk about manager level 0-1, it would be only one on your.
Only one. Yeah. That makes sense. So what is that Venn diagram?
A Venn diagram is a self-referencing field. Okay. The instance, the same instance or a kind of like if I select worker on a worker, that would be a self-referencing field.
Self-instance. Okay, yeah, I remember that. The address by itself is self-reference.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, that was it. So coming back to the LRV screen, so you have lookup related value, you have return value. Do we have anything on additional information? I think we did not went ahead and looked for this category, but yes, this is just for like maintaining or reporting purposes within the tenant. I would say this will not really impact your integrations, but for your information, this is a description you can set. So what is the description? So if you see any of the Workday delivered fields, they really populate all this. This is said ideally, but you are going ahead and creating hundreds of calculated fields. You usually miss or do not end up putting all this information. But yes, I would say in the initial steps or in the initial things, you just go ahead and explore all these options, put in the description, like what this cal fields is doing. Those are, I would say, gets the email, primary work email. So something like this will happen here, so that you, from the description itself, you would be able to read. So this is the best practices kind of thing you should follow. So gets the primary email for the workers manager level 1. Okay. This will say categories and categorize if you want to see different kind of categories. It's just like kind of tagging available for you. Category is nothing but tagging. So you want to say put it on, if we see if we have the worker information tag, you want to put a worker tag, authorized usage, you want to restrict the usage, like default areas is like anyone would be able to see, and generally we keep the calculated fields to default areas so that whenever even a functional consultant is creating any calculated field, they are also able to see it, and your colleagues within the integration team are also able to see it. This is intermediate calculations, and this is do not use is something you have created already, but you do not want to say delete for reference for certain requirements. So what you do is like do not use and mark, and once you save it, you see the name will have DNU in the brackets. It will automatically populate. So this will help you to maybe signify that this instance is being, maybe say you are doing for a testing purposes. So you will delete it, but you do not want within this 10 days period someone else to use it, so that later on you are not able to delete or do any editing on it. So you will like generally mark it as a do not use, so that everyone knows that from the name itself, okay, I do not have to use this one. So these are best practices things. It won't impact any of these, I would say, outputs on your integrations or the actions you're doing on custom reports. Because even if you go ahead and use the DNU, it won't hamper anything or like won't give you. Okay, so it was a DNU field, but still it is giving you. I've marked as a DNU, but it's still giving you the data. So it won't do anything on the functionality or the actions it performs, but yes, it is. The label is there for you to identify that, okay, someone has marked it as for a DNU. Okay. Anything on LRVs, or should I go ahead and create?
One question in general. So any object that we are talking about, do not use, I understand. But in general, if I'm changing a calculated field or object, how do I do a fit gap analysis? How do I make sure that, I can see where are these objects being used, but how do I know the impact of the changes? How do I analyze the risk?
Right. So say you want to change this. You have like reporting on manager level 1 email address. Something comes up. Okay, no, I wanted manager level 2's email address, right? Something like this has been come up. So came up, and you see like where used is something different kind of custom report is also available. So what you'll do is like go to that custom report, see kind of a definition of it or the owner of it. You'll go to that custom report. Okay. Go to the share. You will see who has created it. If it is an ISU, okay, then maybe you have to check with the integration team. I'll tell you what ISU is later on when we get into integration. So don't confuse yourself. ISU is like an integration system user. That's not a person, but it is I would say a dummy user created for the integrations, so that like you leave the organization, but as your access gets revoked, anything does not falls back. Like if there is something owned by you, it will fall back when your access is revoked, right? So for integrations, we generally create ISUs.
So basically, it's like what I understand is you need to cross-verify with the owner of the object. Is it a best practice? I'm trying to understand the best practice, okay? So is it something that you clone this object?
Exactly. So I would say you have so many things, right? And you don't want to go ahead and say check with everyone, right? So yes, that's the best practice.
So that's the best practice.
I told you, like you don't want to take so much headache. Like I want to, what you do, you copy.
So I'm worried. Then a question raises, like over a period, multiple will be created, and it's again a constraint of data performance.
Right. Yeah, that's why I told you. Like the first thing would be definitely check if maybe there is nothing being used, you can definitely go ahead and change. If there is something used in like highlighted in the where use, which is being actively used, you confirm with the owner or within your team, okay, this report, what does this do? Which application uses this? If that is something that is not used, has been created, it's sitting in your tenant just for the sake of it, then maybe you can change the definition, or maybe mark that report as well as do not use and then change your definition.
And again, there is a specific, in PeopleSoft, we have a PS admin, right? Something like that role, is it inbuilt within the application that someone, there will be a security admin for definitely.
Right.
So is there any people who owns this kind of switch gap analysis portion?
Right. This is like maybe most of your integration leads or just your project leads would. That's why I told you, right? Like while going in implementation kind of projects where each report might end up creating like 40 of the calculated fields and you have like hundreds of report to be built. So instead of going in just looking into the tenant, like maintain or view calculated fields, you try to maintain a repository for yourself for all of the people working on it. See, okay, this has been created by this person. Let me ask him, what does that do? Because from the name, I can understand that this is doing certain thing, but I just want to go ahead and check. So that's why like a teamwork kind of comes in to reduce the instances of the same object you create, basically. Just to overload, not to overload your tenants.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I'll go back and create the other type of calculated field I wanted to show you was ESI. Okay. So I will give TR worker. The thing it does, ESI, I think on the LRV, I missed mentioning LRV, but usually what you do is like try to give the function from the, so that again, when we are seeing those calculated fields, if you follow these best practices, you will be able to, like, say, when I created a eval, you will be able to see from the name, okay, this is an evaluated expression field. This is something similar I'm looking to. From manager's email, you're not able to see if it is a text constant or anything. If I'll give a name, say the correct way to do is like put the function in the name. I'm doing a LRV in it. Okay, then that's how you identify that this is an LRV field. Okay, ESI get, say, ESI get primary address. Object would be worker.
What is the limitation of this field name? What is the space max?
I think I'll have to check. Let me see if it is giving a pop-up. If it is too long, I would, let me put, if there is a limitation. I think that until 50 characters, I think it really I've done it. I will get into the Workday document and get you the answer for sure. Otherwise, it usually pops up. Maybe after saving, if it is there, show you. ESI worker home address, primary home address, extract single instance. Click OK. Now, if I go ahead and see if it is allowing me to, otherwise, like.
Don't worry.
What field would be addresses? You have addresses. Now you see the page differs from what a LRV page looks like. You have a condition to be created. So how will this know that out of your so many addresses, you want to pick a particular kind of address? Say, okay, cal field, it would be address. F is primary home. Then field we are working on was, okay. Types operator is any in the selection list. I use this. One more type.
So if you click all here instead of typing, it will show all the fields inside the business object.
Right. This one, right?
No, in the field usage types. So how do I know if the field is usage type?
So I would say this again, you want to see kind of, say you wanted to filter yourself or get a type of email address. If you'll go to, if you have Logan McLean or someone open already, you have Joe Banks open. Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry. If I'll go to the previous screen itself, it has addresses, right? So in the addresses you see address, then you have home.
Yeah, right. But my question is, how do I know that usage type is the field of this particular filter, right?
So what I'll do is like initially I told usage, right?
No. How do I even know it is usage? For example,
you have to, that's why I told you to explore the space. Like you wanted to see, that's the whole setup. Like you want to see how address. Like from my experience, I know that addresses in Workday are set up
in this grid. You see the very second column after address. It says usage. Can we on the top?
Yeah.
On the top, yeah. Can we use that heading and search usage?
Yeah, that is, I would say that is a reporting, which is our next topic. If I'll say like you
Okay.
see
Then
any
if it's
object,
coming, it's fine.
right? From you see any object from it, okay? Maybe from this
Delivery
one.
hero should use it.
Integration IDs. Like I'll show you the contextual type of reporting, what we can do. Like we see an object and you want to create a reporting or a thing out of it, then you will have that. Okay, so that we have created this sort field would be, we have already sorted under this. It will pick up is true, so that would be the address line one. Maybe you want to put the address line one as a sort field. Okay, now it will give you options like sort direction, ascending, descending, what kind of instance you want to pick. You have sorted on it, like you want to pick the first instance, you want to pick the last instance, you want to specify the instance. So you see, enter 2 to return the second occurrence, 3 to return the third occurrence, and so on. The number entered must have less than 100. So if there are certain requirements at times, I would say, and the positions I faced it that the primary position is always being available on the one, and if you're reporting on any of the positions and you want to specify only the first position to be picked up, you will specify certain kind of number in here. So I'll leave these things as is. I will pick the first occurrence, then go to the report I created, go to edit, this field. I don't want it, the all managers to be really there on my case. Okay. I think that 7 meters is 829. I see the whole instance, like since we wanted the address instance, so whole instance of this object, and from there on you can click on this and see the instance yourself. I think it is not allowing me to click, maybe yeah, because this is set up in a certain manner that it gives you only the linkage but do not open as an object, because yes, address as a different page or an object will not exist independently. It will directly take you the worker page only. So yeah, the primary home addresses are coming up. Okay, so that's how we saw, like we created an ESI. What is an ESI? Like getting, from the name itself, it says extract single instance. So why you want to create or extract a single instance is because I have multi instances of an object listing for that field. Like say position, as I told you, positions can be multiple. You can be on international assignment, but there will always be a primary position. Primary position would be just one. Maybe you are working on an additional role. Okay, so you are also being aligned or set up in Workday as having two positions, one in an additional position, one is a primary position. You just want to, on your reporting purposes, mostly you just want to report on your primary positions. So what you'll do is, like, even the primary position kind of field exists in Workday delivered, but I'm just quoting an example. If it is what it was not there, so you will get to the instances of the positions, get the condition as is primary, check that the position type is primary, and then from there on get the primary position and report it on the field. Okay, and that's where we create an ESI. Say you want to look up something on the primary position. So what you will create the ESI out of the primary position, and then only you can create the LRV on it. Any questions on ESI or LRV?
So if we would have used a related business object as address, right, and we have used the field as address line 1, would it have given us 2?
It would, yes. I think on the first day when we saw it, it will give you all the instances. It will give you the line 1 of all the instances.
Got it. So if address line 1, like it could be a primary address and a mailing address, something like that.
Mailing address, home address, work address, anything like the type of address usage.
Okay, so ESI would pick up something specific, like if we
Right. From this condition, it will totally depend upon this condition. The true false condition you set in here, it will go in here and just check for the primary address. One of the key things also available for is, like when I'm saying the positions are always sorted on conditions, or say everything is sorted already, you do not want to create a condition out of it. There is a field available to you is like is true. So is true will return all the instances, and then you can do the sorting and pick a particular instance using the downward fields, like the sort direction and the instance of the returned value.
So Aryan, what is that? How would we know if what sort we have to do, ascending, descending?
I would say you can try to get the addresses field first on your report, okay? and then see all the kind of, say, what it is doing is giving the sort, like the field. So what it will do is like sort field will do a sorting on the address. So if address starts from a numeric, it will come first, and then A, B, C, D, and so on, like alphabetical sorting, right? It will do a sorting on the source field. So whatever the value of
Okay, got it.
yeah, it is for this instance. Say it is sorting on the positions. Okay, and the positions are into 1, 2, 3, or 6-digit number. So it will sort on the number.
Okay, got it.
It depends upon the type of field. Yeah.
Right. And that instance is to be returned, so it will just pick up any first occurrence. Is that something like that?
Right. Like say even after you have certain condition, I would say to return, I'm not getting an example right now. Say even your multi instances has a set of set of things. Like say you have 4 instances of an address, just I'm telling you, and then home addresses also you have certain one, and then you are returning all those, and you want to pick a particular instance, even though we are able to mark only home primary as one address, but still it was available, and you have marked like 4 instances of the same usage type. So what this condition will return is like 4 instances instead of the single instance. So that's where the sorting and particularly choosing the instance of the field will come in handy. First, you will sort all those addresses in one line, and you wanted to pick the second instance for particular reasons. Then you will pick up the second instance, or you want to pick up the last one, like the last compensation event. You want to say, a good example would be you want to check for the compensation events that have happened. The last compensation event that has happened in a period of say 2 years. So what we will do is like get all the compensation events, get the conditions like the effective date or the entry date, whatever the condition is as per your requirement. It falls under these, all the events that falls under these date range will be outputted, and then you sort them based on the effective date. And then from there, the occurrence, like you want to do the last one, right? Like that was done later on, like the last in the effective date range. Then you will pick that, you will select the last occurrence from here.
Got it. So, Aryan, like for this kind of requirement, we first need to go look at the profile, right? How it looks like. Based on that, we will get the output, like what output we need. Okay.
Right. And I would say for any ESI, if you want to create an ESI, I would encourage you to just like get the source field directly on the first report first. Okay. That you want to get the instance of this field, but you first want to see the how many instances, how and it is getting reported. So you'll be able to see the different instances, and then I want to particularly choose this instance. So you will do all this conditioning, sorting, and instance picking as per your requirement.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I think that's it on the ES.
I have joined to the class. I'm having a query regarding the calculated fields. Yeah, in the calculated, when we are creating the calculated fields, if we want to test that calculated field is working correctly or not, whether there is any option to debug or something like that.
I think the best option is for you to get it on a custom report or maybe a test report you can create with the same kind of business object the calculated field belongs to. Like I would say, generally during your projects, what you will do is like create a custom report. The first thing you'll do is create a custom report on workers and set it for your testing. So any field or anything you are doing later on for integration or reports on workers, you can just test putting up these fields, be it a calculated field, be it a delivered field. You can add it on the report and just see how it performs. And on the report, instead of running it for the whole population, if I'll go ahead and say different options are available, there is a test. Okay. So what it will do is like not run for the entire population. For this tenant, the population is like 700 or something, and that's why it's running it faster every time. But say for your tenants, there are like lakhs or 2 lakhs of people on Workday. So it will take a longer time, and for testing, you do not want to wait every time. So what you'll do is like just pick up 10 instances using the test command and see the output.
That means every time we have to create a report and test it. There is no other way. There
is one way that maybe I think on the contextual reporting part, thing. In reporting, you can see like related reports and report fields and values. But the kind of values that had been created, data sources are there. And I think on the values, if I'll say, what did we pick? We pick addresses line 1, right? Something. So you see, these are the values which are coming up. But this is like, this list can grow up and can have a lot of things. So the best way to do it is get it onto a report. Otherwise, if you want to directly just see what kind of data sources this report is looking for, like having what kind of categories, what kind of values it is showing, is it a multi-instance field or not? These are the business object fields.
In the calculator fields, how much logic we can keep it?
We can have any like a number of nesting to be done. I think we showed one of the calculated fields. I would encourage you to go and look for the previously done sessions because rest of the team has already done. But yes, I'll just quickly show you eval, right? This is a evaluated expression cal field. Within this, we have like 4 calculated fields already created, right? So even the condition is a cal field and the return value is a cal field. So this you can do a number even inside a condition. If this is something you want to do, like a custom check or custom condition you want to do, the field here can be a calculated field again, be maybe a ESI or LRV, and then looking into it. So like it all depends upon the kind of requirement you have. I would say the best calculated fields are those without more level of nesting. Try to do as much less nesting as, because this hampers your performance of the report. Anything with a like 10 times nesting would work slower unless until it is really required and you do not have delivered options. Then you go for nesting, say there is a compensation grid already available, but no, you decided not to look for it. You decided to go to the compensation event, get to the related value of the grade from there. That is also a doable option, but that is not, I would say, appreciated because this will hamper the efficiency of a report. Okay? Yeah. I think I'll show you one more cal fields because this is a really good topic, I would say, and different kind of things that you can do. One would be
again, the calculated fields will be more difficult, or what I can say, we have to keep more logic or something like that, because I saw so many requirements. They will be asking about whether you have worked on the calculated fields or not.
Yeah, like if you want to say that it is a more complex topic for in terms of customer Workday reporting, yes. A report is very simple to be built, but it only gets tricky when you have this calculated fields, you have the prompting on the calculated field and all those things coming up, then this becomes, okay?
Yeah.
VAOD, lookup value as of date. So one of the key fields that you will come across creating at times.
Aryan, so like I'm a developer, so I'm just relating this calculated fields with the database select. We have queries, right? Can I relate it to that? Like
maybe
nested
query would
queries.
be like query would be a select on the like filtering on the table specific, but yes, like say you want to do a where clause and you want to have the primary address only, right? That where clause is like this calculated field.
Yeah. Okay. So I can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
LVOD, and then I want to get lookup date. I want to see change in addresses, getting an LVOD compensation, lookup value compensation, I would say. Base pay. LVOD base pay. Okay. So what I want to do from this field is like I want to look up at the base pay of the worker, which was there on that particular date. Say your kind of compensation changed on the starting of this month or the starting of the year, 1st of Jan. But you will be having a different compensation on 31st, right? So I want to see like on a particular date what the compensation was. So that will give you a value based upon that day, not on the like current date. Otherwise, report always runs on the as of date values. If it is only a like lookup value as of date, it will look into the date it will prompt to. So we'll see how it prompts and how it looks like. That's a basic functionality of a lookup value as of date, and that's come handy when you want to see certain data. Like say after termination, employee records like compensation and things are not visible for you to reporting, but you want to report the last compensation of the employee, right? So what we'll do is like put the date as termination effective date -1, so the previous day from the termination, and it will look at the compensation at that time. The position also gets flagged, so if you want to see what position he was on, so those kind of scenarios, this comes in handy too. So I would say base pay. Okay, keyboard is not really helping me, but yeah, this we have. Again, there are so many values, and what to be chosen here is total annual base pay. Total base pay amount is something we will go with. Total base pay amount. We will put, say, effective date as category prompt. Something we can do, right? Prompt start date. Prompt start date is, I want to look it from the start date effective and the prompt start date. Okay. Now I've created this. What it will do is, or create on the report is another prompt, since we have created a prompt on the calculated field, which is in turn is used in this custom report. So how will you prompt the user? So first you have to get this report or the cal field on the report. Okay. Go to the prompts again, populate and define prompts. So you see now start date prompt has been like is coming up, but we have the label as start date. What's say date for this way.
So basically, are you passing the start date to that
report run parameter?
I mean, calculated field?
Yes.
So the start date will display on the report as well?
Report, right. That's why we created it on the report. And it gave me error, prompt label XLAS must be unique. XML aliases are getting LVOD start date. I will put.
Whether we can differentiate between the report prompt date and a calculated field prompt date here.
You can see maybe from this one, it will give you a different thing, but just one, like if it is a, sorry, a calculated field prompt date, it will appear only after having your calculated field added on the report. Otherwise, what you do is like date of birth is the prompt you have created on prompts. For prompts, I think what we do is like create it on the filters. Okay. Starting date and ending date. These are the, so it will, that prompt date will have the field of the filter available to you, and it will come up with the prompt qualifiers or the prompt labels as you mention on the report. So that's why one of the key things while with using prompts always is to like, if you're having two calculated field prompts, two report field prompts, I would say like use the prompt inbuilt prompt values as always as unique for everyone. To save it. Okay, now you see a new prompt is coming. Otherwise, we just had these values yet to be used. It is. I want to look up at the start of December. Used to take date of birth must be on or before today's day. That's something that must be. Okay, let me see. This is not allowed now because we had not changed anything on the starting day prompt. Start date earlier. Did I change anything? I'm showing you starting prompt. Then shut down start date. What date? See, I don't know. We did not change anything, but still it is messing up. It does not work. I will take it like offline and get back to you instead of wasting your time. But yes, that's how we create a lookup value. It will always have two dates. Birth must be on or before. Why should it be in place? It will not put anything because date parameter is not right. Lookup value. Okay, I'll do this. I think there is some issue that has come up because adding this prompt, but I'll take it offline and not waste. But yes, showing you LVOD, I can show you another example on the next session, which I'll try to get it already working for me. But the type of different things available for you is the source field you want to get, the effective date. It can be effective date or entry date, any of the dates you want to get the LVOD on, and that comes us to the concept what is an effective date and what is an entry date. So I think many of you might be aware about basic concepts of HCM or Workday. So can you help me get the difference? What is an effective date? What is an entry date?
Entry date is when you enter the data, impose data into the system. When I think effective date will be when it will be effective.
Right. So if I'll go to the worker, maybe I have opened already. I showed you how to get the different kind of, so any transaction on a worker profile or for a worker would come up as a transaction in the worker history. Okay. So if you see view worker history, you see two dates available to us. One is effective date, that is initiated date. Initiated on date is usually the entry date or the date it has been, like I would say, I think it would come up as a completed on date, but because it becomes entry, like the entry comes successful when it has been completed. But these things really get different because I would say is blank, is empty. So there are certain transactions, basically I would say any changes on the personal data, anything on the ID change information or things, they will not have a effective, they are not effective dated in Workday. Otherwise, most of the things, like 90% of the things in Workday are effective dated, be it your compensation change, your position change, your allowances, your let's say leaves, everything is effective dated, but your personal data for an instance is always non-effective dated. So if you want to create a LVOD on any of the personal data changes, you will do it in the entry moment. And if the field is effective dated, you want to look up for, you will get the effective dated transactions. And yes, like as the example said, like effective date is something like a hire is being entered, but the person is getting hired, say the first of the month, and it was entered on 15th. So entry moment, the transaction completed moment would be 15th when this transaction was completed and effective, but the effective moment would be first. So in between this period, say I am reporting on 23rd for all the new hires with as of date, it will not report you the 1st of February hire because it has not become effective right now. So only when you report on the effective date to look up into the future, then only it will give you that value. Otherwise, it will, for current date, like for as of date, if I run it on 23, it will not give you the value for the person who's like a future hire on 1st of February. Again, this is one of the key concepts for reporting, for integrations, or generally for the whole setup or even for finance setup, that get the difference how or what the effective date and the entry date in terms of integrations will look like and how they're different, how to get them. I would say once you get to the core connectors, right? So core connectors will definitely have for each of the transactions, it will give you entry date, it will give you an effective date, and even the core connector launch parameters will have certain things like the last entry moment, last effective moment, current effective moment, current entry moment. So these are the 4 parameters that the core connector will work on. And the main thing for us is to just identify or just to know like how in Workday these two things are differently set up, like an entry moment or an effective moment.
So one quick example if you can give, if I need to pick that maximum effective date.
Right.
So you put it as a custom field, calculated field.
Right. Like in this here, you will say based upon you do not want to prompt this, but you want to put up a condition that the compensation event or the salary event we are seeing, right? Okay, the effective date of the latest one is coming up, right? Or maybe the last one, like the first one is coming up. The latest one will always be coming up already. If it is running on the current moment, like you are running, it will always show you the current one. But if you say you want to pick up the last one, then from there you will get the lookup related value or the effective date or the first instance of the compensation change, okay, or the total base pay. And then for that you will have to do an ESI, okay, from all the instances of those compensation. You will do the ESI to look for the and sort it accordingly on the based on the effective date for the
take the first instance.
Take the first instance, and from there you create an LRV because that instance will be the output file, right? But from there you create an LRV, and that's the like typical use case for an LRV. You have created an ESI, but now you want to get the date of that instance, not the whole instance, for you to create a certain field like this. So you will do a LRV, you will get the effective date of that instance and put it in here. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
In the calculated fields, we are creating a calculated field. Can we use another calculated field in that calculated fields?
Right. Like that's the nesting of fields I told you, right? Or the example I was giving you. You create an LRV like ESI for multi-instances and then use that ESI for this. So everyone, I'll just ask the team, like, are you already know since we have already demonstrated this, or you want me to just go and create the example I just gave you? Like get the compensation last event and get the effective date and get the date in here.
Also, based on the effective date that we pulled up through calculated field, the rest of the fields will be filtered for that effective date.
Right.
It's automatically
not rest of the fields. It will only hamper this calculate. Like if you're using for this calculated field, right?
Okay.
It will only output.
Okay, I didn't ask the question right. Okay, so let's talk about hire. Okay, so the person or job data changes, right? We have 10 rows for the employee, for the worker, and I just want to pull the most recent row, one row. So it could be the effective date, it could be the current position, current manager, current compensation.
Anything. Right.
So if I do this calculate field, based on this result, will all other next fields will be filtered automatically?
No. So you want to say, I will say, but you want to do something like this, right? Let me know if I get your question right. So you have all these fields, right? And then you want to have a field which shows you the latest event on the worker history, right?
No.
Okay.
So take a job data. So you have employee ID, you have effective date, you have what are the changes in the job or compensation changes. Let's talk about it. So every year I have increment. I'm working for a company for 10 years. So 10 rows of in compensation. Right, from my first salary to current increment. Okay, so I need to pull every field in the first row.
Okay.
Just one row. I don't want to sort or something. So when I have a prompt, if I give my employee ID, I need to see only my latest row in the report. One row is good enough.
Okay. So all you have to do is like get the effective date using an LRV and an ESI and get that lookup value as of date field for that event, and then get that event just for that particular effective date you have filtered out, like the latest one, like we were doing from here. We were looking at the same thing. You were looking at the total base pay amount, say that was based on the prompt, but you want to just put up a condition in here. It picks up the latest one, even though, like I would say, Workday reports will usually give you the latest one itself. So you do not have to overcomplicate the logic for such kind of situations. But if you want to report on the latest one for something that is already giving multiple values, that you have to get the date first in here. Okay. Anyhow, like you derive a logic that I want to look at the line event or the event, or okay, for this particular person of this state, right? You want to look at this. So first you want to drill down to the level of this effective date. You have to get this, your source should be this effective date. Okay, then only you go ahead and get the relevant information on this date.
Okay, maybe we can talk about it like quite visualize it. We are over time, I know. We'll see if we can talk about it.
And so just taking this example, right, we have total base pay, we have a prompt. So whatever prompt we give, it will give us that total base pay amount, but rest of the fields would be the top of the stack.
Right. The rest of the fields, like you're saying, the rest of the fields on the report, right?
Yeah, so if there is a couple of changes on the address, it will still pick the top of the stack, but only for total base pay, it would be as of that date, what we have at the prompt.
And the key thing to note in here is because we have not changed anything on the filter here, right? The report output will depend upon the filter you have set up and not on the prompts. If the prompts are being used in the filter, then only it will change. Like say I put up a filter and effective date using that prompt where we are getting this date, or using that value we are getting this date from LVOD. For the same prompt, if I put a filter in here, then the report output will be hampered. Otherwise, it will not change anything on the rest of the report. That prompt is only associated with the particular field, and it will govern the output of this and this field only.
Yeah.
Any more questions, like for any kind of calculated? I'm trying to give you more time as much as possible for these calculated fields, because custom report is something you can grasp as easily, but it only gets trickier when you try to create different kind of calculated fields. I know in our course curriculum we do not have material, because this is most of things are just hands-on things. You'll just have couple of lines on cal fields, but on real time, calculated fields are the real deal for you to work on any kind of custom report.